In this video, we're going to show you how to install parking brake shoes on your Subaru Legacy located behind your rear brake rotors. Using a thin wall 19mm socket, we're going to go ahead and loosen and remove our lug nuts here. Our particular vehicle has a locking key on it, so we're going to go ahead and remove this. Go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. With the back wheel removed, we want to remove our caliper here. It's held in place by these two bolts, one here, one here. These are 14mm. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a gear wrench on this here. I'm going to remove that bolt, set it aside. We'll be reusing that. And same on the top. I'm going to use a pry bar, small pry bar. You can use a screwdriver if you want. I'm going to go between the caliper and the bracket and just gently work this out. You should be able to wiggle this out. I'm going to take this here, I'm going to swing it up and set it up on top. Let's remove our brake pads. There's an inboard and an outboard pad. If you notice on the inboard pad, on the lower portion, there's a squeak tab on the bottom. Remove the outer. No squeak tab. Now there's a bolt right here, and there's one on the top here. These are 14mm. Now we need to access them through the knuckle itself. Now on the lower portion, there's going to be a hole down below. We're going to use our socket with an extension to go through onto this bolt. Got to remove that bolt. I'm going to bring our caliper down and let that rest down here. I'm going to access that other bolt up top. Going to remove that bolt. I'm going to take our caliper, swing that back up and out of the way, and then remove our caliper bracket. Now I want to go remove our brake rotor, but ours is kind of stuck to our wheel hub. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and throw on one of our lug nuts. Just throw it on a few threads. We're going to spray the face of this here with some rust penetrant. Let that soak in for a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and use our mallet, and we're going to hit the rotor, separating that from our wheel hub. Go ahead and remove the lug nut. Grab your brake rotor and slide it off. Let's take some spray solvent here. I want to spray down all of the parking brake equipment here. It's best if you do this outside, and maybe even wearing a mask due to the brake dust in here. And on the bottom side here, we have our adjuster wheel. And if you rotate this upward, it's going to cause us to collapse and bring our brake shoes in, or our parking brake shoes. So let's go ahead and rotate that, close that up. I'm just using a little pry bar here. You can use a screwdriver. You might even be able to use your fingers to do that once it gets down so far. Now once that's in, I'm going to go ahead and remove this spring. And then we're going to go ahead and pull out the adjuster. Now what I have here is a flathead screwdriver that I modified with a little notch in it. This is great for getting in here, grabbing that spring, and just releasing it like so. Now the spring is identical on both sides, so it doesn't matter which way it goes on. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. But now we can go ahead and open this up and pull out our adjuster. The adjuster is a multi-piece unit, so it's probably going to fall apart on you. But one end falls right out, and the other side is threaded, as you just seen when we unthreaded that. Now on the top section here, there's 2 upper springs. You want to pay attention to this here. It is specific. The rear spring, the hook, goes over the forward spring. I'm going to go ahead and use my spring tool here. Go ahead and release this here. Pull out the spring. Let's go ahead and get the lower one here. Now you need to pay attention to this little wing space here that goes behind the springs. Slide that off. Now right down behind the hub area, we have this bar. This actually engages into the rear shoe and the front shoe. Go ahead and pull this apart, pull this out. So the arch faces up when you remove it, and the spring side faces forward. Now on both of our parking brake shoes is going to be a spring. We're going to use our flathead screwdriver in the center right here. Turn that counterclockwise about a quarter turn and it will release. The spring is going to come out with a little pin. Slide this out. Now this is the actuator here for your parking brake. Now when you flip this over, there's actually like a horseshoe clip right here. We're going to have to spread that open and release that. Open it up and release that clip so we can go ahead and remove this. So we're just going to tuck this back. And let's go ahead and we're going to do the same for the forward. We're going to use our flathead screwdriver. Push in, quarter turn, release the pin. Now this shoe is going to fall off because there's nothing else holding it. I'm going to use my flathead screwdriver. And once you open that up a little bit, you can normally get the screwdriver in there. Pretty much just got to work this until you can get this up and off of that pin. And once you get that up so far, normally you can put a screwdriver in the back side of the horseshoe clip here and pry that out. The other thing you can try doing is using a pair of pliers, and you're going to grab the edge of the pin in one of those little tabs and trying to work that pin off that way there. That might open up that gap on the back of that horseshoe clip there a little bit more for you. Now once you get this off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this little horseshoe clip and I'm going to put it on my bench, and I'm going to flatten it out a little bit because, well, they do get a little deformed as you remove them. Set that off. There's going to be a little spring clip here or a little spring washer, and then you can slide this off. Before we assemble everything, you want to go ahead and clean and prep the backing plate in the hub area. Go ahead and take some spray solvent, spray this down And if you have the ability to do so, use a little bristle brush to clean everything down. Next step is, there's going to be 6 contact points where the parking brake shoes are going to come in contact with the back here. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then on the other side it's going to be the same identical spots, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to take a little bit of silicone paste and I'm going to put a thin coat on those contact points. It is not to be goops of grease, just a thin coat. You can actually rub your glove on there. Just spread that around thinly. Take the rearward parking brake shoe, place that over. And install that little washer there. And then we're going to bring back our little horseshoe clip. All right, so we have our little spring washer on there. We have our horseshoe clip there. And then I'm going to go onto the pin in the back of the horseshoe clip. Let's see if I can pull it onto there. Just like so. Now what I'm going to do is use my pliers and close that up so it locks on. There it is, it's locked on. Now our washer was split a little bit, so we're just going to work this over and underneath the clip, or underneath the horseshoe retainer there. All right, now that we have that there, let's go ahead and get that ready to install. Now I'm going to bring this up. We're going to put our pin in. Now our pin has to go in horizontally, so the blade on it is going to go in horizontally, and our screwdriver is going to be flat. And then we install this here, we're going to push it in and turn it quarter turn for it to lock. So it's got to go through here, has to go through the hole in the backing plate right here. Okay, the rearward shoe is set. Let's install the forward shoe. This one a little bit less challenging because we don't have the parking brake assembly stuck to it. You can see where that hole is here. We're going to install our upper bar here with the spring. Remember, this face forward. This long tab is going to go on the outside of our shoe here. Okay, we have this set in place. Install the upper tab here. Now it's going to have recessed portions on it. If you look at it, it's going to have a bend in it. So make sure that those tabs are facing inward. Line that up and push that on. Line that up. Make sure that spring is moved far back on that pin. Install the rearward spring. Before we install the adjuster here, we want to go ahead and clean this up. So I'm going to start by simply spraying this down. And if you have a bristle brush, go ahead and clean up all of that brake dust debris on there. Let's go ahead and unthread this. And make sure that the threads are clean. Take a little bit of silicone paste, throw that on there. And go ahead and thread that back together. Now I'm going to put a tiny bit in here. Now this is probably going to fall out while you continue to work with this here, but a little bit will kind of cause it to stick. So just a tiny bit in there. I want to make sure that that pivots smoothly. Let's go ahead and install the adjuster along with the spring. Let's go ahead and make sure that the openings line up. They're not twisted. You need to make sure that lines up. Threaded portion faces towards the front of the vehicle. Open this up and then close it over that. Take your spring, install. It doesn't matter which side you install first, really. I just chose to do the front one. I'm going to go ahead and use my spring tool here and push that over and in. Now when we go to adjust our parking brake shoes, we're going to take this wheel and we're going to rotate it downward. And what's going to happen is it's going to cause our brake shoes here to expand out. That's how we're going to set the tolerance between the rotating brake rotor and the parking brake shoes. Before installing your brake rotor, you want to go ahead and make sure that the hub surface is clean and flat. If it is not and you have scaly rust on here and you install that brake rotor and it wobbles, it's going to create a brake pulsation right from the get-go once you start driving the vehicle. So this is a key factor here. Go ahead and use a bristle brush, clean off that hub face. Periodically spray it down with some brake solvent to clean up anything, and then keep on running your finger over this here to make sure that it is clean. Once you're satisfied that it's all clean, I'm going to go ahead and spray this with a little bit of anti-seize compound. What we want to do is go ahead and compress our piston into the cup. So we're going to use our tool here to go ahead and do so. Then we're going to go ahead and apply some light pressure, squeezing that in. And what we're doing is we're pushing that fluid back up into the master cylinder. We want to get that piston to be almost flush inside that cup. Just about there. There it is. That's going to allow us to put our brake pads in. Go ahead and set that to the side again. And take our brake rotor and set that on. Now at this point here, go ahead and rotate this here. And what I also like to do, if I slide this, you can wobble it like this back and forth on our parking brake shoes. Normally if you slide this on, you want to feel a little bit of resistance and a little bit or minimal amount of wobble here on the brake rotor. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our adjuster wheel that we just installed, and we're going to rotate that a few clicks. And then we're going to repeat this process. We still have some room to go. And the other thing you want to pay attention to is your parking brake shoes can shift left or right a little bit. You see that? So you do want to make sure that it's centered when you're installing that rotor. Let's continue to adjust this wheel, expanding these out. All right, have just a little bit of movement there, which is perfect. Push this on. And we have just the slightest amount of friction on the inside, which is perfect. Good, line up our bracket here. I'm going to feed our bolt through on the bottom. Get that lower bolt started. Once you have that lower bolt started in a few threads, we're going to go ahead and grab that caliper and bring that down. And then push our bracket back up. Feed that through. Once that lines up, go ahead and get that bolt started. And once we have them both started, we'll go ahead and snug them down. Make sure that's good and tight. Put our caliper back up on top. Let's get to that lower bolt. We'll do the same down here. Tighten that down. Now we're going to install our brake pads. Now on this set here, the squeak tab is on the top. Pop that in. Do the same on the outer. Bring this down into position. Install your bolts. Let's torque down our caliper bracket to knuckle bolts to 39 foot-pounds. Go ahead and tighten down your caliper to bracket bolts to 20 foot-pounds. We're using a crow's foot on this here. Now that we're torqued here, you want to go ahead and repeat this process for the passenger side. Now before you drive off with the vehicle, pump up the brakes. The first 4 to 5 pumps may go to the floor. The pedal should firm up and then you can go for a road test. Go ahead and grab your wheel. Line that up on the studs. And ideally you want to go ahead and get all of these started by hand. And then we'll come on back and snug them down. Let's go ahead and gently snug these down. I'm going to do this in a crisscross or a star pattern. You want to go ahead and torque down your lug nuts to 88 foot-pounds. Ideally, you want to do this in a crisscross or star pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.